Hi everyone, it's Sarah Johnstone here from Remax Real Estate Kamloops. And it is August 2022, and the market has definitely shifted this summer. So at the beginning of the year, we were looking at a super hot seller's market, lots of properties going into multiple offers. And when you look at the stats, you can clearly see that February of 2022 was getting the highest average prices for most property types in the Kamloops and District region. So if you're a seller or a buyer right now, you might be wondering whether or not now is a good time to buy or sell, or should you be waiting? As we quickly are approaching September, we typically see an uptick in the market where people do decide to sell before the snow flies. So is this fall a good time for you? I'm going to delve right in, talk about a few stats so that you can see what's been happening in the market, and then go over who are some of the people that it might be good to buy or sell. And if you're going to wait, either as a buyer or seller, what are some things that you can do in the meantime so that you can set yourself up for success whenever you're ready to pull the trigger? So let's get started. All right, so first thing, always love to start with a good quote. So this is from Franklin Roosevelt. Real estate cannot be lost or stolen, nor can it be carried away. Purchased with common sense, paid for in full, and managed with reasonable care, it is about the safest investment in the world. So why am I sharing this one with you? Well, I know that when the market, the real estate market in the world is a little bit all over the place, inflation is historically high, all the craziness that's going on right now, it can seem really daunting to be deciding to buy or sell, and whether or not real estate seems like the right move to make. However, this quote really does show, right? It's a good investment, definitely, to be making in the long term. And even if we've got a bit of a dip right now, it's certainly something that, the real estate market goes up and down in waves. So it's a good investment, in my opinion. And I did put an asterisk there because, of course, most people, shouldn't say most people, but a lot of people have mortgages still. 2/3 of Canadians are homeowners, and just under half of those own their home outright. But eventually you'll get there, right? That's the plan with mortgages. Okay, so these stats here are for the Kamloops and District area as a whole. So that includes places like Merritt, Barrier, Chase, Logan Lake, as well as Kamloops itself. And these were taken from July of 2022. So you can see that the single family home went up 12% in value this July to July of 2021. However, when you compare the average price to June, the previous month, that's June 2022, the average price actually dipped down by 4.7%. Townhouses, again, you can see that over last year, they're up a whopping 31%. But again, compared to June, they're only up 2.6%. Condos were pretty much the same this year as last year, but they did indeed drop in the average price from July 2022 to June 2022. So you can see the cooling of the market there. Now, in July of 2022, we saw 194 residential units sold. So that is a significant drop to July of 2021. You can see there, I mean, we're getting pretty close to a 40% drop in units sold, listings sold, right? And our real estate board, the stats are saying that for July, we had 1,855 active listings. Now, I'm not 100% sure if those are accurate because when I log into the back end of our system, our realtor MLS system, essentially, right? It's always been hovering around the 1,300 mark. But regardless, that number is up significantly from July of 2021. So again, number of listings has gone up, sales themselves have gone down. And if you actually start to look at this a little more historically through the last year, the last months here, we can see what the average selling price of units sold are in the Kamloops and District area. So this is for all property types. And like I said earlier in this video, you can see that the peak was definitely in February of 2022. And you can see that now we've dropped down. We've gone from a high of 716,000, just over that, to 681,000-ish now for the average price. So has there been a drop? Yes. But if you look at that number there, you can see that we've got July 2021 on the graph here, and we're still significantly ahead of last year's average numbers. Average days on market, right? So again, Kamloops area. You can see, I was actually expecting a bit more of a change here, but you can see we're actually down slightly lower for days on market than we would have been in the previous year. So the blue line is for 2021 and the red line is for this year. And certainly you can see that the number of days on market are starting to incline there. We're starting to see slightly more days on market. Now, overall, if we look, this is province-wide. This is from the BC Real Estate Association. We can see what the province is doing. So do keep in mind, obviously, when we talk about the real estate market, there are all different types of markets. We have a provincial market, we have city markets, we have single family home markets, and certain neighborhoods, right? So overall, you can see that we were definitely in a seller's market. We dipped down into a buyer's market right as the pandemic hit, and then it quickly rebounded into a seller's market. Now, when I did the math, it looks like we are indeed back into a buyer's market for July's stats. It'll be interesting to see August stats as well, but I would definitely expect we're going to kind of bypass the balance market and go into a buyer's market. So what's happened? Why has everything shifted, right? So basically it all comes down to demand and supply and demand, as I talk about all the time. So in this case, we've got less demand and more supply, which is triggering this buyer's market. So what's causing that? Well, interest rates definitely are having an impact. So in July, we saw a 1-point increase, or they raised the rates quite a bit higher for variable mortgages and also for fixed rate. And that actually cut purchasing power by 10 to 15% for most buyers. So you're not going to necessarily be able to afford as much house that you could have in previous months. We're also at nearly 40-year high inflation, which is straining household budgets. Inflation numbers, they've dropped a little bit, but we're definitely not near what the Bank of Canada and the government would like. We want to be in that 2 to 3% mark, and we are definitely in the 7s right now. Also, fear of the unknown. So there is a potential looming recession coming, and certainly we see kind of scary headlines of historic correction for the housing market. And it can seem really scary, right? It was very interesting to read that about 17% of Canadians already think we're in a recession right now. Spoiler alert, we're not. And about 43% think we will for sure be in one. And it's interesting to note that behavior from Canadians can actually help manifest, whether it's positive or negative, the type of economy that we could get into, right? Because if it affects your purchasing decisions, your investment decisions, what everybody does individually, collectively adds up. So there's definitely an element of the fear of the unknown. And I've certainly seen some sellers and buyers just sort of step away from the whole situation. Also, priorities are shifting this summer on focus for travel and events. So I certainly have noticed way more people traveling this summer. Lots of events that were there pre-pandemic are now coming back. And there seems to be a shift, particularly for buyers, that they're just going to go enjoy the summer instead of looking at buying a home. So as we get closer to September, that may change, right? We're going to get back into routine. This is typically the time we see an uptick in the market from mid-September all the way through to the end of October. All right, so BC Real Estate Association is forecasting a sales decline by 6.6% in 2022 and 17.1% in 2023. And they are predicting that the average price on the MLS is going to increase by 19% in 2022 and 1.6% in 2023. And that is for the Kamloops and District region. Now, they're not always right. When I looked at the numbers back in November of 2021, they had only predicted I think it was about 1.8% increase in the average price for 2022. And obviously we've gone way above that number. So let's take a look here. Who are the people that should be buying right now? And keep in mind, everything that I say here, this is the thing. It's not going to be a blanket statement, and it's totally going to depend on your specific situation, right? So you can't really say it's a bad time for everybody, nor is it a good time for everybody. But I'm going to focus on some key sort of groups here where it would be something to consider and something to think about. So first-time home buyers. Why do I think it's a good time to buy if you're a first-time home buyer? Well, you're paying a mortgage instead of paying rent. Now, if you live in Kamloops and you are renting right now, or you're trying to find a rental, you've probably noticed the rental prices here are honestly, they're kind of ridiculous. They are super high. In October of 2021, Kamloops' vacancy rate was just under 1%. And to give some context here, in 2015, it was 5%. And that's according to the Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Kamloops is currently around $1,600. That is a 9% increase compared to the previous year. Now, with the reduction in housing prices that we're seeing right now, and there's more inventory on the market, this can create some better opportunities for first-time buyers. So when the market was so smoking hot as a seller's market, I certainly felt the pain from my first-time home buyers who are really struggling to get into the market. Now they've got more options to take a look at, and they've got the ability to not necessarily be competing in multiple offer situations. Now, you can look for opportunities such as gifted down payments or co-signing options, because obviously interest rates are higher, right? And you do still need to qualify for a certain amount and pass the stress test. So certainly if you're first-time home buyer looking for some alternative options to help get you into the market, would be a good thing to take a look at. Now, I wanted to show an example here. So this is a unit in Kamloops on Summit Drive in the Sahali neighborhood. It is 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. You can see from the pictures here, it actually has been renovated. This is I want to say it's a 1970s building. So there's been some nice upgrades done. So if you purchased this unit for $310,000 and you had a mortgage at 4.79% and 5% down, you'd be paying $1,745 a month. Now, if you rented out that second bedroom to a roommate for $800 a month, then you would be paying your mortgage of $945. Now, I included about $400 for utilities and your strata fees. So all in, you're still under the average rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in Kamloops. And on top of that, you are building your equity in ownership, right? You're not paying off someone else's mortgage, you're paying off your own. So that's just one example of what you can find there if you were a first-time home buyer. Obviously, other great options are looking for a home that has a suite. Certainly getting your own rental income can offset your mortgage greatly there too. All right, so another type of buyer where this might be a good market for you to purchase in are the buyers out there that need to sell their house, but they want to be able to sort of buy at the same time. So in the market that we had when it was a really strong seller's market, we did not have something out there. It was not common to see a subject to sale. So that is where a buyer submits an offer, but they say, hey, I still have my house to sell. So I am going to put a subject in there that says subject to the buyer selling their house at whatever address, and you give a certain time frame, a number of weeks in order for that to happen. So it was ridiculously hard to put an offer in with a subject to seller when the market was so hot. So this allows buyers to search for their dream home first and then sell. A lot of the time we were seeing the flip situation happen in the market earlier this year and in 2021. So the only thing you need to keep in mind is that you do need to work really closely with your real estate agent to prepare your home first. And you do want to make sure that you are pricing your home really smartly when you do a subject to sale. It can be a good idea to make sure that you're slightly undercutting some of the comparables out there that are active on the market, because you do want to make sure you get an offer on your home. But it gives a little bit more options to buyers who need to sell first. Okay, so sellers needing to sell. And I know that's pretty broad, but now could be, and coming into the early fall, the best time to sell in the next 9 months. Well, why? So by October, RBC is forecasting the overnight rate's going to climb to 3.25%. That's a rate we haven't seen in a decade, and that is going to continue to push up your mortgage interest rates, right? So it could be a good opportunity to try to get your property sold before October. And obviously, we don't know what the Bank of Canada is going to specifically be doing in the new year. And we don't actually know what they're going to be doing in the fall and the winter as well. There's a lot of speculation, and they may be pulling back on some of those increases. But certainly, there's a fall advantage anyway. So, like I already mentioned, everything is getting back to routine when fall hits. Kids go back to school, the summer, is over, and everybody sort of focuses in. House hunters tend to focus on buying at that point. So if you were wanting to sell, typically the winter is not always the best time for sellers to sell. So I think that it would be a good opportunity to take advantage this September and October. The other thing that's going to be happening in the new year is there's going to be the provincial government home buyer protection period, the HPP. So this is a mandatory 3-day cooling off period. So this is where a buyer can submit an offer and they've got 3 days to back out for any reason. There is a small penalty attached to it. And there's a lot of details that still sort of need to be worked out and how that looks. But it does add a little bit of uncertainty to the selling process. There has been some concerns that, buyers might put in a lot more offers and not be as serious, tie up your property for 3 days, and then they decide to back out of the deal, right? So it's something that's definitely geared towards protecting buyers' interests more than sellers. And it may all work out totally fine in the end, but there's definitely uncertainty at this time. So certainly selling before January 1st would just eliminate that uncertainty. So know when to hold them. It's not always going to be the best opportunity to sell right now. It might not be the time to gamble on a sale. So here's some types of properties that I would say, generally speaking, you might be better. Again, every situation is unique, and I strongly recommend that you speak with a professional real estate agent so that you can get a better understanding if this is a good time or bad time. But for instance, if you are going to be flipping a property within 4 months of doing renovation work, you've got at least 4 months in there, and you have no intent of renting it out, right? You want to be able to just renovate the property and then resell it. It might not be a good time to do that right now because, again, by the time the renovation period is done, the market actually might be dipping a little bit lower. If you've got a low interest rate and it's not portable, or you're going to have some massive penalties, and you're okay to live or rent in your home right now, right? You were just sort of on realtor.ca and you were just daydreaming about the next house you could be in, right? As long as you're okay to be living there, it's working for you still to some degree, right? Maybe you can do some renovations or improvements to your home to make it work better for you. It might be a good time to stay put right now, right? Take advantage of those lower rates. If you've got one, you'll be paying less in interest overall. If you bought within the past 2 years and you didn't make any improvements to your home, right? No renovations, nothing major. In fact, maybe things have even gotten a little bit more wear and tear in the home. I would probably be recommending that, again, if you don't need to be selling, it's probably not the best time to sell your property. And if you've got a hard property to sell due to the location or the state of the home, now again, not a great time to sell, right? So when the market was super hot and it was a super hot seller's market, the joke was that you could put pretty much anything on the market and it would sell really quickly. So it can be not the best time right now to put something on the market that you know might be a struggle to sell. Maybe it's worth doing work to it, right? Or it's worth waiting depending on your situation. If you're not buying now, these are some things that you can do to help prepare yourself for when you're going to buy. So you need to go beyond looking at listings online. And I know that's the fun part. I know it's great to be on a search. It's great to log on and take a look at all these fantastic homes that are out there, but that's really not preparing yourself the best way to purchase a home. So what do you want to do? Well, you want to create a budget that allows for down payment savings each month within a TFSA or an RRSP, right? You can, if you haven't utilized taking out RRSP money for a down payment, this is especially good for first-time homebuyers. We utilize some of that, my husband and I ourselves for it. That would be something that I would definitely recommend doing. The other good thing about budgeting as a whole is that we know interest rates are probably going to go up a little bit. They might drop a little, but we've certainly seen things like Fortis and hydro prices go up. Property taxes increased for a number of people. Again, with inflation being higher, it's good to try to create a budget so that you know what it's going to kind of be like when you've bought a home. Other thing you want to do is connect with a mortgage broker to find out what, if anything, needs to be improved. So when you get a mortgage, they're going to be looking at your credit score. They're going to be looking at your debt ratio. They're going to be looking at the income that you're making. All of those things can be changed. So maybe they're going to tell you it's a good time to pay down more debt. Maybe they're going to tell you you need a bit more credit. Maybe it's a good opportunity to open up a credit card responsibly and build up some of your credit, because no credit score or no credit is not good either. And as far as income goes, maybe this is the opportunity for you to get a better paying job or do something where you're making a bit more money. There are tons of job opportunities out there right now. That's one of the interesting things about the state of the economy we're in right now. A lot of people cannot find enough staff. So it could be an opportunity for you to make a switch where you'd be able to increase your income. And you want to be at a job past your probation period anyway before you're applying for a mortgage. Mortgage company is going to want to know that you're secure in your position. So now could be the good time to do that. And then you're going to want to find a realtor and get set up on a PCS search. This is different than going to realtor.ca and signing up on a search there. When you get signed up on a PCS search, it's a private client search. And if I was setting it up for you, I would put in the different types of parameters of a property that you think you're looking for in the future, right? And what I can do is I can click it so that you can actually see sold data. So initially all the listings are going to come up as active. And then as they sell, you're going to be able to see what the sales price is for. Now, the nice thing about doing this is that you are able to educate yourself on the specific market that you are looking in. So if you are looking at or wanting to look at townhouses on the South Shore in Kamloops, then you're going to get a really concrete idea of what the real estate market is doing in that specific segment. And it's great to be able to have that knowledge so that when you are ready to take the leap into actively looking at these listings because you're ready to buy, you're going to have a few months of knowledge behind you and have a really good idea of that specific market segment. What about if you're waiting to sell? So this, I think, is going to become my new mantra: reduce, repair, and rent out. So you want to be able to increase the equity in your home and enjoy the benefits. So here's a staggering stat that I found out. Apparently, this is American, but I would imagine us Canadians wouldn't be too far off. There's an average of 300,000 items in the average American home, which is pretty staggering. So I'm going to go basically, this is the pretty much free option that you can start with is decluttering. And if you need some inspiration, go to Netflix, watch the home edit, watch Marie Kondo, get some inspiration going. I know it's not always the most fun, but it is a good opportunity to declutter. That is one of the things when I stage homes, that's sort of one of the first things that I look at is what can we get rid of in the house? What can we move into a storage? What can we do to help make the home show better? And most of the time, most homes will look better with slightly less stuff in them. The other side too is that when you do go to move, right? Moving is a pain in the butt, and you don't necessarily want to be boxing up and moving stuff that you really haven't been using now to your new home. So good opportunity to declutter. Take your time in doing that. You can go room space by space and do it now. All right, second point is investing in updates that will save you money. So that's things like new windows, high efficiency furnace, things that are going to bring value to the house overall, but they're also going to help you out now save some cash. So certainly things like high efficiency furnaces can be a very good way to go. Maybe you're going to look at even doing something like putting solar panels in. Now, do look at the cost benefit of that. They don't always increase equity as well, but if it's something that's going to save you money in the short term, it could be worth something to look in. And if there are a lot of rebates out right now for doing a lot of that efficiency type of work. All right, next thing, paint, new baseboards, new hardware, appliances, lighting fixtures. These are all things that are relatively easy for you as a homeowner to do. Now, do I mean that you have to do absolutely everything yourself? No, you can hire out for sure. But certainly if you're able to do it yourself, like this lovely picture here, we've got, I assume the husband there painting, and this is the ideal situation for me. I'd be sitting on the couch while my husband does the painting there, but it is an easy thing to do. Again, does it take some time? Do you need to make sure you're doing it well? Yes, super important. So if you can't do any of these things really well, do hire a professional. But paint baseboards, new hardware on cabinets and stuff like that. Certainly appliances, watch out for those sales this fall, for the Black Friday sales, for the Boxing Day sales. Get a good deal on them. Same thing with lighting fixtures. If you have those, what I call boob lights, you probably know what I'm talking about. Those round ones that go on the ceiling. And they usually have a little knob right in the middle. Replace them out. They're going to give you a return. And the nice thing is if you do it now, you're going to get some time to enjoy your house with those upgrades. And my final point here is about adding an income suite. So this is certainly going to take the most time and money, but it might be worth doing. Homes with rental suites are definitely popular, and they don't necessarily need to be a legal suite, although you can certainly go to the City of Kamloops' website. They have an awesome page there on all about adding a secondary suite and doing it so that it's legal, right? So a legal suite means that you're going to take out the appropriate permits, and you are going to basically get everything checked over, and you're going to get the stamp of approval from the city that yes, it's a legal suite. Now you can add things like in-law suites. You can do them a different way. They're just not going to be registered with the city as a legal suite. Regardless of what you do, it's great because if you do decide to do this, you could rent it out now, which could help offset some of your costs currently. And in the long term, again, a lot of homes, it makes sense to add an income suite. Now, it doesn't always, right? It's a good idea if you're going to go this route to get in touch with your realtor that you've hopefully been working with, or find, a new one, and just double check to make sure it makes sense for your house. If you're doing it because you need the rental income, great, go ahead. Just, that makes sense if you're going to use it. But if the idea is you're going to kind of add it in for resaleability in a short period of time here, definitely check in with a real estate professional of if it makes sense for your particular property. All right, so that's it. That's sort of my recap here. So maybe you fell into one of those buyer seller categories where I'm saying it's either good or maybe not so great to be buying or selling right now. But you have some specific questions about your situation. Because like I said, these are all really broad statements I'm making here, really broad categories. And every type of situation is very unique. So definitely reach out to someone like myself, and I'm happy to meet up for coffee. I'm happy to pop by your house and take a look and give you some ideas of what I think you can be doing to either improve for the long term, plan ahead to buy, or if you're ready to jump into it now, I can also talk about ways that we can help get your house sold in a buyer's market. And if you're a buyer, I can also help you out in order to purchase. Because the one final thing that I will end with is that there are still some multiple offers going on right now. It does happen if homes are priced well, and the market is ever shifting. So in a couple months from now, things could change differently than they're expected to. So certainly staying in touch with all the professionals that can help you with your buying or selling process is very important to do. So if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can contact me. I will put all the contact information available, and yeah, feel free. Hope you found this information useful. If you do have any questions, you can write them in the comments below as well, or you can send them my way. And if there's any topics that you want me to talk about, let me know, and I'd be happy to make some videos in the future for you. All right, take care, everyone.